Okay, here I am in the National Forest, and hopefully there's no one around, and I'm filming this directly on the newspaper article that you just saw, Shooting Targets Wrong Home. Now I'd like to discuss this because there's a lot of problems with the article and a lot of misunderstanding. Okay, the Mounties were called to a home with an overnight targeted shooting. Now it says targeted, obviously, at an incorrect address. Now after reading the article, they don't know who the shooters were, and how do they know it was a targeted hit, other than a house was sprayed with bullets, but nobody was hit, nobody was injured. So how they know it was targeted, we can't tell from this article, and I don't believe that it may have been targeted, and who knows if it was the incorrect address. So they're not telling us everything, obviously. And please note that it was the RCMP received a call at 2:45 a.m. Now, tell me, anything that happens at 2:45 a.m., tell me, is that usually good or bad? But most bad things happen right around that time, 2:45 a.m. Like, you rarely see anything bad happen at 2:45 p.m. So why is it always 2:45 a.m.? So the people that are up doing no good apparently are up at 2:45 a.m. and that's when they decide to commit their crime. So if you want to think about it, that, you know, maybe the police should be looking for people cruising out at 2:45 a.m. because why would somebody be out cruising at 2:45 a.m. unless they want to go shoot up somebody's house and mistakenly shoot the wrong house? And that's allegedly what this story is about. Okay, the next thing was that they found the home riddled with bullet holes. So that's kind of interesting. They didn't hit anyone, but the home was riddled with bullet holes. And discarded shell casings nearby. So that's kind of interesting. Apparently they came by in a car, but they exited the car to shoot up this home. And yet they still missed everything. Didn't even break the windows from what I can see. Just hit the siding, panel siding on the side. Okay, interesting. Anyway, these guys obviously were not professionals. They left both their bullets and their shell casings behind, presumably with their fingerprints because they're not professionals. And so it should be fairly easy to define who these shooters are, or shooter. I'll say one shooter. The other thing is that a witness in a nearby residence told the newspaper that he heard 9 or 10 blasts, and he thought they were firecrackers at first, and no injuries were reported. So that's interesting. So you have to assume he did not have a 5 or 6 shell clip. So the shooter must have had a 10 shell clip, and presumably he would have blasted all of them into the house. Like, why not? Why save some for whatever else he had to do? But anyway, the fact that the witness lost count. Anyway, the fact that the witness could not recall if it was 9 or 10 shots that he heard kind of reminds me of a Dirty Harry movie. And I love Clint Eastwood, but remember when he said, "I can't really remember if I fired 5 or 6. Are you willing to take a chance, sucker?" or something like that. Anyway, love Clint Eastwood. Loved your hog's breath in when you were mayor of Carmel, and had dinner there with you one night. That was spectacular. Love that place. Good luck to you. Anyway, famous line from the movie. Please watch it if you don't remember it, or anyway, watch it again because it was great. But that tells you that, okay, it was probably a 10 shell clip, and he probably fired them all, so there's probably 10 bullets in the house. Now, if you look at the photograph, the police officer is pointing to multiple holes in the side paneling of the house. From the holes, there are obviously handgun, low velocity weapon holes. They're very small. They didn't do any other damage, and there's not even an indentation where they went in. Just a small hole that had to be marked by the police officer. So probably a 10 clip handgun, single person. Otherwise there would have been more. And the fact that it was 9 or 10 speaks to one person with a 10 shell clip, as opposed to two with 2 6 shell clips would have been 12. So again, unlikely. Anyway, the other point is that they didn't even break the window. So if they were really trying to hurt somebody, they should have been shooting at least in the windows or other places, not just in the side paneling, which is doubtful that with the low velocity weapon that this even went through the wall. Okay, so now the police are saying, okay, they shot the wrong house, the unintended house. And is this supposed to make us feel better? I assume that they were trying to make us feel better, that they were not going to injure anyone else, but this means that they didn't get the intended people, according to their story, and that people will be coming by later. In other words, everyone's worried now that the shooter or shooters are going to come by and finish off the job at the right house. And what if they make a mistake again and hit another innocent person's house? That is, assuming they are innocent. Now, I mentioned earlier these people are not professional shooters, which is going by the information available, that they left the shell casings, etc., and probably left a nice trail to their whereabouts and who they are. Not professionals, probably coming back. So that elicits worry amongst the general population, I would say. So not an overly confident article. Rather worrisome. This is on the front page of the weekend newspaper. And good luck to all those, the intended victims, the victims that they missed. And I don't suppose the shootist needs any luck, because with the obvious information that's available, they probably have a good idea who he is already. Okay, that may be the only consolation to this whole story. I would like to say that I am somewhat of an expert in gunshot wounds. I've written textbooks on gunshot wounds, management of gunshot wounds by Elsevier Science Publishing. Is still the big textbook on the management of gunshot wounds, and still the only one ever produced by that title directly for the management of gunshot wounds. And I've been treating gunshot wounds for 40 years, and I probably saw more people with gunshot wounds than any other person alive. I saw at least 65,000 patients, treated them, and collected their records, and published more scientific studies and medical articles on gunshot wounds than I believe any other person alive or past even. So anyway, I believe that gives me some expertise on this topic. So please look up my gunshot wound textbook. Please look up my hundreds of peer-reviewed gunshot wound articles. And I will continue to speak on this subject. Thank you. Have a good day. I hope you're enjoying the national forests here. I know I am. Even though cars and planes still come by when you're miles from civilization in the middle of nowhere. Okay, anyway, have a good day. Have a good life.